here, it'll be a good opportunity for us to talk about our entrance right here. This entrance is a statuette at a place called Abu Simbel in Egypt. And right here where Micah is standing is an actual picture of this place. If you guys want to scoot on up here, you can see the actual picture of this doorway right here at Abu Simbel. And this is an entrance to a tomb, and it is the tomb of a very famous queen. And her name is Nefertari. And the reason she is famous is because she was married to an extremely famous husband. And that's the only reason why she was famous, is because she had a very famous husband. Her husband's name is Ramses. We'll talk about him a lot here in a few minutes. Actually, this is her tomb entrance at Abu Simbel, and one of the unique things about this tomb, as you can see, it has statues of men here, and here is Nefertari, here is Ramses, and then Ramses, and then Ramses, and then Ramses, and then Ramses. So even though this is her tomb, she gets one statue of herself, and her husband gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 statues of himself outside of the tomb. The other thing is this is the name of the person supposedly in the tomb, but it's really not. It's actually Ramses' name. So Ramses gets his name put on the outside of the tomb, and his wife Nefertari, who's actually buried in the tomb, gets a little tiny place right here for her name. The unique thing about this tomb is that it is not in its original location. It was actually sitting on down the side of the mountain 80 feet from where it is today. In the early 1940s, they dammed up the Nile River with the Nasser Dam, and it created the Nasser Lake. And so as the Nasser Lake began to rise, it began to threaten this tomb because it was sitting so low down on the side of the mountain. So what they did is they came and they cut everything you see here off. They cut off all the face of this entire structure, cut these statues in two, and they lifted everything you see in that picture up on the side of the mountain 80 feet higher than what it was originally. And then they cut into the mountain and they dug out the tomb again, exact replica of what it looked like originally down below. The original tomb you can't go in today because it's all underwater. It's been flooded by the lake. But this part you can enter and go into, and so again, it is an exact replica of that. Now, this is not stone. This is actually styrofoam. And I think it's cool that when I started coming here to the museum, and then I came to Arrowhead Church, one of the first things that everybody did at Arrowhead Church for VBS was work with styrofoam, and I knew then I was at home because everything we make out of styrofoam there, and you guys know that. But this is all made out of styrofoam, and they did an excellent job. Okay. All right, we're going to go into the last block. We want to have you out here.
What museum is it in?
British Museum in London.
I knew I hadn't seen it.
Huh?
I knew I
So you did see it?
I did, because that's why I knew it was a Rosetta.
She has seen a real Rosetta Stone. Awesome.
Oh.
Excellent. All right. Anybody want to guess who this guy is? Excellent, Ken. Ramses. Excellent. I want to read a passage of Scripture to you very quickly here from Exodus 2:11, and it says, "And they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built key cities, Pithom and Ramses." Of course, this is talking about the children of Israel in bondage in Egypt, and it specifically says that they were forced to build some key cities, Pithom and Ramses. Thus, it makes Ramses, notice what I'm about to say, Pharaoh Ramses, it makes him one of the key suspects. Notice that, suspects. I'm not saying to you he was the Pharaoh, but he is a very key suspect to being one of the pharaohs that was sitting on the throne in Egypt at the time of the Exodus, okay? When Moses and the children of Israel were about to depart from Egypt. If that is the case, you can see here on this that he would have lived from 1223 to 1290 to 1223. So the estimated date of the Exodus is somewhere around 1280, if he is the Pharaoh. I don't know if he is or not. I have some differing views. I have some other good suspects that I feel are potentially equal to him being the Pharaoh, but the dating would have to change if they are the Pharaoh. But for tonight, let's pretend that he was. Okay, just pretend.
He didn't live long, did he?
He did
Back
live
then.
long. Oh yeah.
67 years?
No. 1290, yes. This is actually his rule. This is his rulership. This is not his age. This is the rulership. He ruled for almost 60 years, but he lived to be nearly 90 years old. So this is actually the date of his ruling, not the date of his age. Now you can see that he has on his shoulder a tattoo of a... What is it? It's a round object. What's that called?
Cartouche.
A cartouche. Very cartouche. Cartouche. Very good. So he has this on here. Very good. He actually has it on this side. Yeah. All right. He has it over there.
She remembered that, so she ate.
Excellent. You get 2 points.
No, I said I had to remember that to get in heaven. You told me I didn't.
Oh, yeah. All right. He has in this hand what's called a flail. Anybody know why he holds this in his hand?
Leadership.
Leadership. More importantly, first let's talk about this. This is called the crook. It's called a crook. A crook. It looks just like a shepherd's staff. You know why he's holding that? Anybody? What it means? Okay. It means that he has the authority to make law. All right? That's what this symbolizes. That he has the authority to make and pronounce law. In Egypt, he does not have per se a council that he seeks advice from per se. He might, but the ultimate decision for the law is this man's. Okay, so he has the ability to make law, and that is represented in him holding this. Now let's go back to the flail. So you have the cross, the crook, and the flail. What do you think this represents now?
Keep everybody in order.
Excellent. If you disobey the law that he makes, this man has authority to punish you. Okay? He has a false beard on his chin, which represents his authority over Lower Egypt. And he has 2 crowns on his head. He has one crown that looks like a bowl, and then one that looks like a bowling pin sitting up in it. And those also represent his authority over Upper and Lower Egypt. By the time of Jesus, by the time of Abraham, by the time of all the patriarchs, Egypt was no longer a divided kingdom per se, but now it was a consolidated kingdom. Look at this map right here quickly, and somebody point out to me and tell me where Upper Egypt is. Where's Upper Egypt? It's either
Probably up on top.
It's either up here or down here or up there.
So that's it down below.
Good. This is Upper Egypt. And this is Lower Egypt. And the Nile flows this direction down to the Mediterranean Sea. So Mr. Ramses holds authority over both of those divisions of the country at that time. Now, again, AC pointed out the fact concerning Ramses that he reigned for 60 years, but he lived almost 90 years. And I'm just wondering if he lived 1200 BC, now we're at 2012. That's been almost 3,000 years ago. I wonder what he would look like today. Any clue?
Probably pretty rough.
I'd say age.
You can pass that around. This is his mummy. This is a picture of his mummy. One of the best preserved mummies in all of Egypt is the mummy of Ramses. They actually brought his mummy here to the United States a few years ago when he toured. Ramses did a big tour through the United States. He's, on stage, headbanging. No, I'm just kidding. But he did do 2 tours. He did a major tour through the United States. Anybody see it? Did y'all go see it? He did a major tour through the United States. They brought him here. I saw him in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he was really funny. He was a great comic. I'm trying to be funny, okay? Actually, Ramses' mummy is one of the best preserved, as I said, in all of Egypt. His mummy was discovered in the 1800s in a cache of mummies, royal mummies in Egypt. There were several of them had been taken out of their original burial places and placed in tombs. And Ramses' mummy was one of those snuck away and put in a tomb and then rediscovered in the late 1800s.
So that's what he looked like when he died, probably.
Probably so, very close. And he had red hair. You can see the hair on his head. At one time I had a book that had this photo in it, and I brought it here, and I don't know where it's at. I've never seen it since. I think I left it here, and someone picked it up, or they put it somewhere, and I couldn't find it. But this is a picture of him. His fingernails are still on his fingers, excellent condition. He actually, when he died, had about a 3-day-old beard stubble on his face. And that you can still see the beard stubble on his face now, 3,000 years ago. Or 3,000
Didn't
years
fall
ago.
off.
No, it's still there. Absolutely.
It's just
Still there. And you can see his hair. Did y'all see his hair? Top of his head?
Yeah, I see that look familiar.
Oh, yeah. Is that how mine Ices looks of a morning when he first gets up?
No, Lord, no, he looks good.
No, Ramses is known as Ramses the Great. And again, if he is the Pharaoh of Egypt at the time of the Exodus, then a very interesting thing you just did. If he is the Pharaoh of the Exodus. What did you just do if he's the Pharaoh of the Exodus? If he is the Pharaoh of the Exodus, then he is the only person in the entire Bible that you can actually look at their face today and see their face. The only person. That's pretty wild. Think about it. So, he's the only one who you could actually see their body and view their body. Now, if he's not the Pharaoh, then there are other pharaohs or mummies that have been found that are on my suspect list and on other people's suspect list that would also allow you to do that. Okay? He is called Ramses the Great because he is the greatest builder in ancient Egypt's history. This man was a genius architectural. Again, you saw here some of the things that he did, even though it was his wife's. He did extreme architecture throughout Egypt. He wanted everyone to know who he was and never forget it. And they didn't, even to this day. So he accomplished what he wanted to do. Questions about him quickly while I hand something out to you? Anybody?
Did you say where we could see him?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Would you?
Yes, I would.
Yes, you could go to Cairo, Egypt. He's back home in Egypt now.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, he's went back to Egypt.
How
And
many years did he rule?
say that again?
How many years did he?
60.
60.
Yes, he ruled 60 years.
We're not doing nothing, Ma. You want to run over there?
Yeah, let's go.
As far as we know, he died of natural causes. Yes. I know. Are y'all attending the Judaic lecture?
Yes.
Oh, fabulous. There's a Judaic lecture. Here I'm teaching about ancient Egypt, and here's the Judaic lecture over here. So they're leaving Egypt now. They're going out of Egypt.
I'm going to the basement. You're on stories about
Shalom. God bless you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
evening. Have a wonderful evening.
Sorry we couldn't stay.
No, that's fine. Yeah, there's a Judaic studies class going on tonight. There. So that's pretty cool. Here we have two.
Now, who died first, him or the wife?
Probably his wife. Yeah, he probably had her killed.
Is that his wife back there?
No. No. Actually, we don't have anything concerning his wife in here. That lady over there, I'll tell you who she is in a few minutes. All right. Well, you hold in your hand first. Let's look at it on this side. Okay. What you hold in your hand is a tomb that has been discovered recently in Egypt, and some of you in the class have seen this before, but this tomb has been discovered. Anybody saw this before or remember talking about this? This tomb was discovered in 1985. It was discovered by Kent Weeks, an archaeologist, an Egyptologist. And when he discovered this tomb had actually already been discovered one time in the late 1800s by James Burton. And then it lay dormant until 1923, when in 1923 Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon were uncovering some unknown guy named King Tut. And so they were taking all the dirt from King Tut's tomb and they literally filled this tomb up. All right? And so it stayed that way from 1923 until 1985. In 1985, they were getting ready to do a new parking lot in the Valley of Kings, and Egyptologist Kent Weeks said, let me go in there and look one more time. Which he did. And at that time, in 1985, none of this was known. All that was known was what you see here exposed from under my hand. Are you heading to the bathroom? Okay. And there's a restroom down the stairs immediately to the left. Well, the water fountain's right around that corner right there. So all that was known was what you see, again, exposed from my hand up until 85. The room that you see that's square with 16 pillars in it is about the size of this room right here, okay, that we're in right now. And so Mr. Weeks came in 1985. And remember, this room is filled up with dirt within 23 inches of the ceiling from the debris from Tut's tomb, plus just flood debris. So when Kent Weeks came into the tomb in 85, he crawled the 23-inch space all the way to the back wall, began to work, take dirt out, and he found this huge crack in the wall. They brought in crowbars and tools, and they began to work the crack, and it wasn't a crack, it was a door. The door had been sealed for 3,000 years. When they opened the door, they opened all of this T shape that comes out here. Okay? That's just been open since 1985. They're still working on that today. Alright? What is it? It is his sons. It is the burial chamber for his sons. Okay? He had 52 sons. And he had 100 children and 52 sons. So the burial is for his sons. Now, again, the cool thing is, if he is the Pharaoh of the Exodus, on one of those 16 pillars in this room, when they took all the dirt out, they found a hieroglyphic name. And above that, it said, firstborn son of Ramses. So if he is the Pharaoh of the Exodus, for the first time, probably since 3,000 years ago, since 85, we have now been reintroduced back to the name of his firstborn son. Why is that important, Mike? And he would have died. Remember, this boy would have died in the plagues, the firstborn. So for the first time, now we know his name. It's not written in the Bible. It was not written in any historical documents. But basically, on the pillar, it said, firstborn son of Ramses. I'm going to give you the name. You can write it down. Ready? Abraham Keperchev.
Just spell that.
Did everybody get that written down? Abraham Keperchev. I have no clue how to spell it, so just do the best you can. All right? Abraham Keperchev. Now, the first part of the name is Amon, and you'll hear a lot of that. I think they're downstairs. All right. Yeah. Amon, you'll hear a lot of that. Amun-Re. So Armand is a very popular prefix to the names within Egypt. So Edamon Keperchev is his name, okay, of the firstborn son of Ramses. Questions? What time is it?
I was just thinking that
7:30 right now?
Yeah. 52 kids, I'd say his wife chose to die first.
Probably.
Are these mummified? I mean,
There were not mummies in any of these so far. They found mummy parts. They found a hand here and there. a foot, toe, finger. They've never found yet a full mummy in any of those.
But the bones are there.
They found some bones. They found a few skeletons here and there. Mostly they have found burial offerings that people brought to them and presented and left in the tomb for them to use, because the Egyptians were not like the Jews, or nor like us, who believed that there was a complete separation between this life and the other. They actually believed that, yes, once you died, you did cross over to the other side, but occasionally your spirit would come back into this life, and you could literally receive gifts, presents, food from this life and partake of it. Okay? So it's really cool. Now,
Let me ask you a question.
yes, sir.
In the BC, what when people died, where did they go?
In BC?
Yeah, before Christ.
Well, if they did have law, they had the law of Moses. And so I think God would have judged them according to how they lived, in light of that law of Moses. So I know there were people who went to heaven. There were many, many, many people who went to heaven.
And what about before Moses? Am I getting ahead? You want to do this?
Do what?
You want to do this first?
No, sir. Before Moses is really the time period that is described as not having law nor grace, from Adam until Moses. And so a lot of biblical scholars believe in the text in Peter's writing, 1st or 2nd Peter, where it says about Jesus in the 3 days when he died, that his spirit, the Bible says this, his spirit went into the lower parts of the earth, and he preached to those who were in captivity, and he set their spirits free. So a lot of biblical scholars believe that those people who died from Adam until Moses, which had neither law nor grace, their spirits were literally preserved. Micah's like, ooh, wait a minute. Their spirits were literally preserved and held until the time, and during Jesus' time of 3 days in the tomb. And I'm just telling you what a lot of biblical scholars believe, that Jesus literally went there, showed themselves to him, talked to them, and they received him. And then he set their spirits free. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but that's sort of
Well, something happened.
yeah, that's sort of the most common belief.
Yeah.
That's what's presumed.
Do what?
That's what's presumed now.
Yes, it's what's presented. Okay? You ever, huh? No. So it's sort of out there, yes. All right. So, again, these are things, when you hear these things in the Scripture, you're not hearing myths. You're hearing about real people who really lived, okay? And who really existed in that time frame.
One question.
Yes?
Now, the pharaohs, they were almost looked upon as deities in themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, I can't remember if it was school or a documentary that I was watching, was that there were times, there were like one point in the year where the pharaoh would actually go out and show his, honestly, his physical supremacy in running races and things of that sort, to show how good he was at a lot of things. And was that actually an occurrence? Did they actually do that? Did he show that?
Micah, it's very possible. I really haven't read that in anything that I have read. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen. No, I haven't ran across it. But considering the overall culture, I certainly wouldn't have put it past them to do that. So I think it's a very realistic possibility. Okay, it's something I'll try to look up and see. Okay, a little more about, because they did. The Pharaoh. These people were in condition. I mean, tip-top condition, and absolute physical condition. They kept themselves in complete physical condition all the time. And the physical part was most important, really, to them. Not so much the spiritual. They did want to live a good life, but the physical part.
Is he black or white?
Neither.
I mean, if that's what he looked like, I just wanted.
Yeah, neither. He is Asian. I mean, very much Asian. Probably darker skinned by far. But to say black, no. But yes. Hey, come on in. Did you have problems finding us? Did you have any problems finding us?
We won't discuss that now.
Did you call my phone? Is the
Yes.
next. Oh, yeah, I've got it laying here. I looked a minute ago to see if it's back on.
This was easy to find. All you had to do was follow that little black car. He was in.
I parked way down there.
Did they not let you park in here? Oh, bless your heart. Okay, well, you're fine. We're just sort of starting. I don't know why it's so hot in here. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's hot. Okay. Any questions right here? Anybody? Okay. Why don't you just stand? Little oil was used on his body. So that's why it stayed. Dryness is the key. If you want a good mummy, if you want to mummify your cat. That hurts.
On a daily basis.
Mummify
Oh,
anything. If you want anything mummified, dryness is the key. Okay? Dryness is the key. Get that body as dry as quick as possible. When someone died, as I said, the first 40 days was about preserving the body. After they got all the internal organs out, they would literally, as high as this glass, just cover the body in salts. And these salts are called natrons. And they would just cover it, and then the natrons would suck all the moisture from the body.
The blood.
Blood, anything, liquid. Suck it out very quickly, and it would basically petrify that person. Okay? Some of the best Egyptian mummies ever, or mummies in all the world, were just normal common day people who might be out in the desert and die in the desert, and then the sands of the desert would blow over them, and the humidity would suck all the moisture out, and they're the best preserved mummies ever. Those that didn't even get the royal treatment. But these are all received very much treatment. Now, there's a lady right now that is surfacing in Egypt as a major archaeologist in Egypt. There was a gentleman for a number of years who was the director of archaeology, but when all the uproar happened in Egypt, he sort of came off of that. Hawass? Yes, Hawass. But now there's another lady, and I knew I would do this, and her name's leaving me all of a sudden. Salima Ikram is her name. And Salima has been here, and she is an animal mummy specialist, and now she is surfacing, and she may become the leading Egyptologist in all of Egypt. So when you're watching Discovery Channel, like I do all the time, if you ever hear her name, Salima Ikram, you'll know that this woman is a great archaeologist. Anyway, this is ibis birds, another ibis bird mummy. Here's a full-bodied cat mummy laying here. Y'all can come over. You did, didn't you? Yes. This is a full-bodied mummy cat. This has bones, head, skull, everything inside of it from the cat, all wrapped very tight. Here's another full-bodied mummy cat laying here. So both of them have the actual cat inside of them. They mummified more cats than any kind of animal in Egypt, and the reason was because they believed the cat was deity. They believed it was a god. So they were very protective of the cats, and they gave it a name Basset, which meant like goddess of the feminine side of life. So they protected the cat. They had temples of Basset, where when you came to worship at the temple of Basset, you didn't bring $1. You didn't bring a check to give as an offering. You know what you brought? You brought a mummified cat. And so you would place the mummified cat as an offering. Okay? Now, there have been pits. They would have huge pits where you could donate it into as you entered into the worship. Aren't you glad we don't do that kind of stuff anymore? And so there have been this. If you've seen, I know Mike and you guys have studied in 6th grade. The famous golden mask of King Tut that everyone has seen on a book or in a picture. That mask is like this one, not like that. It goes down. Although there were those different coffins, 7 layers actually of coffins, but it went down over the head.
That guy back there, does he have glasses on? He looks like he's got glasses.
It's the makeup. It's like this.
Okay. I was about to.
No, they didn't have glasses. But the men wore eyeshadow and makeup as much as the women.
It looks just
Absolutely,
like glasses
they did.
for me.
Yeah, it does look like glasses. All right, so this one, again, it's not solid gold, but it has gold on the surface of it. Now, in here you have all these little statues here. And you guys have heard me talk about this or preach about them. But these little statues are all called shawaptis. Everybody say that?
Shawaptis.
And all of these little shawaptis are made, especially the green ones, are made from the world's first type of glass. It's called faience. And it's basically ground quartz stone, ground down, mixed with sand, powder, and then water, and then it becomes like a glass texture. So it's really the first glass of the world, and again it's called faience. And all of these statues, they're shawaptis, and the word shawapti means answerer. So what happened was this: as they mummified these people, they would take these little, I call them dolls, and they would wrap them in the linen. So as you're wrapping a mummy, you would have a shawapti wrapped inside the linen and another one wrapped inside of the linen. And then there were actual life-size shawaptis. In King Tut's tomb, there were 2 of them, and then others, but 2 specifically, made of ivory with gold skirts like servants, and they stood right outside the door where he was actually buried. Beautiful, beautiful statues of Tut. So, but these, more importantly, were wrapped on the linens. They meant answerer. Now, here's the thing, and you've heard me talk about it, now you see them, is the phrase in the Hebrew, when Moses comes before the burning bush, remember he's been in Egypt all of his life. Abraham was in Egypt for quite some time. All the children of Israel were in Egypt, the original sons. Then their descendants stayed in Egypt for 430 years. So all through the Hebrew text, you have this little phrase over and over and over. Anybody know what it is? Here am I. Moses at the burning bush, God says, Moses, Moses. And he says, here am I. Abraham uses that phrase. Isaiah uses that phrase. Samuel, when he's in the temple with Eli and hears the voice, and Samuel finally says to him, if you hear him again, say, here am I, Lord. Speak, your servant hears. This phrase, probably, and I'm going to say probably, comes because of these. Because all these people were in Egypt at one time and beheld this custom. Moses especially. Moses grew up in Egypt. The culture of Egypt, that's all he ever knew.